What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video with Calgary Barbell and myself, Bryce Krawczyk. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna dive into some of the issues that I see time and time again in our Form Check Friday videos and live streams, and in videos with my clients, and in doing a lot of technique coaching over the years. A lot of people are committing these same mistakes, which have a very potent impact on people's lockout, specifically when it comes to the sumo deadlift. So let's dive in. The way this issue is gonna manifest itself for most people is gonna be, you watch the lift, whether it's your own or somebody else's, bar speed very quick off the floor, stalls out around the knees, and the lifter will maybe miss or just be very slow to lock out at the top. So now let's get into what you can do about it and how you might be able to fix this or prevent it from happening in the future. The first thing is going to be pause deadlifts. I'm sure anybody who's watched this channel for any period of time has heard me recommend that a ton, but in this specific instance, the idea is we create our bottom position, we start the lift, we pause with the plates maybe 1 inch or 2 inches off the floor, and then we go to completion of the lift. Now, the reason I like this variation for helping with this specific sort of lockout issue is the pause deadlift, in theory, should help strengthen and reinforce your ability to not only create this position, but to hold it throughout more of the lift. And that first part of the range of motion is where people lose that position. So if we can train them to lose less position or to not lose the position at all, that can be really helpful. If you're looking to implement pause deadlifts in your program, I don't really like to give specific programming recommendations because I think training is very nuanced. But in the case of most people watching this video, you could probably implement sets of 3 to 5 in the 70 to 80% range and focus on really holding good technique and use it as a sort of technical variation on a second or off day to really hone in on positioning and those sort of fine tuning of your technique. So the second strategy I'm going to recommend that people implement is based around the fact that, in a very real and practical sense, when we get that bar to the top, we're not strong enough to finish. Now, some people might look at that and say, like, let's implement block pulls. But my argument against block pulls is that you're gonna be starting in a different position. So my solution or my recommendation is to use accommodating resistance bands or chains. And the reason I like those is because you're still starting the deadlift from the same spot, through the same length, the same range of motion. But if you get more out of position, you're going to struggle more at the top. So not only does it have this sort of self-selection of, now I really know what a good rep feels like off the floor because I'm being, rewarded for it at the top or punished for it if I lose a lot of position, but also it's just gonna make you stronger at the top. If the weight piles up as you get further along in the range of motion, the lift's tougher at the top, there's a bias towards that top end, chances are you're gonna be able to get better at locking out when you do lose position. For those looking to implement accommodating resistance, I don't necessarily have a recommendation in terms of you should use bands and not chains or vice versa. I think a lot of times it's gonna be an accessibility thing. In terms of loading for it, 10 to 20% of your estimated 1 rep max added to the bar is an okay place to be. And to make things even a little bit simpler, it should just be enough that it feels different than a normal deadlift. That's a totally fine metric. You might be sitting there wondering, well, how do I implement this in my training? How do I, should I use bands? Should I use chains? Do I do pauses? Do I do it all at the same time? And it's a tough question to answer. Now, I would recommend doing your competition deadlift or your main deadlift within the same training week as one of these variations. And the variations can be selected as easily as what do you have access to. If you don't have bands or chains, start with pause deadlifts. Maybe look at buying a set of bands. If you have chains at your gym and they look like fun and you want to try them, throw them on the bar, see what happens. What I would do though is I would keep those variables the same for a period of time, let's say 6 weeks. Track your technique in terms of whether your technique has improved throughout the block. Track how much weight you're able to deadlift throughout the block. And then compare that to another separate period of time where you focus on a different movement and see which one seems to have more impact. And that's gonna be it for today. So I hope that everybody who clicked on this video with hopes of fixing their deadlift is able to affect some positive change in terms of their technique and their 1 rep maxes. And if you want to stay tuned for more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Any questions, comment below, and we'll see you all in the next video.